All right, so we have finished up the Constitution unit and the Federalism unit. So we're actually diving into the next overall unit for the class, which is the interactions among the branches of government. So we're going to talk about Congress and the president and the bureaucracy and the judicial branch, but we're going to start with Congress. And this is a really important part of this AP class. It's a really big part of the exam. So make sure that you're paying close attention to each of the branches, their powers, and what they do as we go through these next units. So Congress. Congress is described in Article 1 of the Constitution, and that's because the founders knew that Congress was going to be the most important part of this new government. So keep that in mind, that Congress is first in the Constitution. So Article 1 is Congress, Article 2 is the President, Article 3 is the Supreme Court. At the Constitutional Convention, as we already talked about, they created that bicameral legislature. So there were two chambers of Congress, the House of Representatives and then the Senate. And again, remember that the framers are wanting to contain factions, okay? So they don't want any one group to control too much power. So they're keeping that in mind as they're creating these branches of government. So let's look a little more closely at each of the chambers of Congress, starting with the House of Representatives. So the House is directly elected by voters in their districts. So each state is broken into congressional districts based on the census. There are 435 total members in the House of Representatives, and state population determines the number of representatives that each state has. So here in the state of Kentucky, we have 6. Other states have way more. Think about California. They have double digits in terms of members of the House of Representatives, whereas some states, smaller states like Rhode Island, only have 1. Now, the House of Representatives is designed to keep Congress members close to the people and their wishes. So they're elected every 2 years. They serve a 2-year term. And that is to keep them close to those people that they represent. So the idea is that they're representing a certain district, a smaller number of people. They are closer to their constituents and the people they represent. Now, they can serve an unlimited number of terms. So when their 2-year term is up, they can run as many times as they want to. Now, it is more formally structured, and we'll talk about that as we get on into the unit. There are more rules in the House of Representatives. However, there's less prestige. And a lot of that goes back to the fact that there are 435 of them. You're serving shorter terms, okay? So there's just less prestige, less power that comes with the House of Representatives. This is just a quick look at Kentucky and how it is broken down in congressional districts. You can see that Pulaski County is in District 5, and Louisville itself is its own district, okay? So population is how these districts are broken up. So you can just kind of see how things are different. Northern Kentucky, this is the Lexington district, okay? But again, we are in District 5 with most of Eastern Kentucky there. This is our 5th district representative, Hal Rogers. So you all are probably familiar with him. He's a Republican. He has served for a very long time. So remember, members of the House, there are no term limits, so you can keep serving. His current term ends January 3rd, 2021. So the Senate, as we talked about in the Constitution unit, the Senate each state has 2 senators, which gives you 100 total members. So 50 states, 100 members of the Senate. Now, senators are elected to 6-year terms. And the idea behind this is to create a continuous body, okay? So it is more stable because it's divided into 3 classes. So only 1/3 of the Senate is elected every 2 years, okay? So there are different election cycles, and that way only 1/3 of the Senate is up for re-election every so often, okay? And that is to just keep it a more stable, more continuous governing body. Now, senators, like representatives, can serve unlimited terms. Now, senators are more insulated from the public, so they're not serving just those districts, those smaller districts. Senators serve the entire state. And the Senate is created to prevent policy from being voted too quickly. So the idea behind having these two chambers of Congress is so legislation and laws aren't just being passed based on the passions of the people. You know, something happens and we're like, oh, we need to make a law, right? But that is why the founders created these two chambers, is to keep that from happening so that it takes a longer amount of time to pass laws and that laws aren't just made on the passions of the people. Now, individual senators do hold more power. Again, this goes back to the idea that there's only 100 senators where there are 435 members of the House of Representatives. It is less formal in terms of their procedures, but there is more prestige in being a senator. Now, these are the Kentucky senators. So you have Mitch McConnell, and he served for a very long time, since 1985, so since before Miss Collis was born. And then Rand Paul, who has served since 2011, and they are both Republicans. Mitch McConnell is up for re-election in 2020. So these are just some of the differences between the House and the Senate that we've already talked about, but you can come back and look at this chart if you would like, just to see a little bit more of the differences between the two chambers. And these are some of the special powers that each chamber has, so make sure that you're aware of these. So the House brings up impeachment charges. So when President Trump was impeached, the House brought up those charges of impeachment. They may choose the president if there's no majority in the Electoral College system. And make sure you know this, all revenue bills start in the House. So any kind of legislation regarding revenue starts in the House of Representatives. Now, the Senate acts as a jury in the impeachment trial. So impeachment charges start in the House. The Senate holds a trial. So President Trump was impeached in the House, but he was not voted out of office in the Senate. They may choose the vice president if there's no majority in the Electoral College system. The Senate ratifies treaties with foreign nations with a 2/3 vote, and the Senate also approves presidential appointments. So keep this in mind in terms of filling the vacant Supreme Court seat, okay? So the Senate has to approve with a 2/3 vote the new appointment to the Supreme Court. So these are just the special powers of each chamber, and that's where we will stop with this lesson.